Hello there, this is Megan here with Core 3 Harmony and Wellness Services. First and foremost, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to hear what I have to say today. And I am very, very delighted to have this opportunity to have a platform to speak and to share. Here at Core 3 Harmony and Wellness Services, we provide services in three areas: music therapy, counseling, and coaching. We provide services in person if you happen to be in our area, as well as remotely. Here at Core 3, we want to make sure that our content and our information is informative, it's uplifting, and it's inspiring. Also, I want to take out a little bit of time to add that if there are any topics or anything you would like to see discussed or spoken about, you are free to email me right here and email me any ideas or thoughts that you may have, and or something that you're struggling with or being challenged by. We'd love to be able to provide you some support and some information to help you with that. Today, we are going to dive deep into a little bit of time that we have together regarding grief and loss. The holidays can be an especially difficult time for people, a very challenging time for people for a variety of many reasons. There are stressors involved with interacting perhaps with individuals in your family or getting reacquainted with individuals within your family or friend acquaintances that can be uncomfortable for people. There's also the stress that comes along with that. There's also the stress that involves everything encompassing doing that. Presents, food, traveling, trying to get to the places to be with people. Oftentimes the obligation to have to be somewhere or be a part of something. And then also encompassing that is loss or grief of celebrating some of these holidays and events that are occurring fairly soon for us here, especially in the North America, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, if you do celebrate those, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, oh my goodness, you name it. It can be a real challenge for folks when they are also finding themselves celebrating those events when a person has died or without a specific individual if they're no longer around anymore. So today I want to touch base on the importance of, as we move into the holiday season, to really make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And oftentimes we will find ourselves running around trying to get all these other things taken care of. And we are leaving our own self-care in the back seat and not taking caution to tend to what we need on a variety of different levels. This past year has indeed still been difficult for many. There's been a lot going on. And there's been losses of a wide variety that individuals have dealt with. And so I want to take in a perspective of some self-care tips to implement to help you stay as balanced as you possibly can during everything that is coming up. I want to say that there's one thing that's come to mind for me is that if it is adding more stress upon what it is that I can do, or if it's outside my means and I'm trying to stretch and to make it work. It's much better to release and let go of the thing in which you are not able to participate or be a part of. And it's so much better to find yourself just releasing and let go of something that you have no control over. It can be really hard on different levels for individuals to set and establish really healthy boundaries, particularly if you know that being engaged and around certain individuals um, is uncomfortable and is not in any way joyful for you. There's no need to stress or push yourself into a situation that's going to cause you to feel that way. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit and talk about how we can manage, deal with our grief and loss of a variety of means that encompasses individuals, family, and friends we've lost, as well as a variety of other losses, jobs, businesses, homes, just feeling at loss, period, in life, and just in this weird kind of lost in translation feeling that many of us can find ourselves in, and just thinking that we're feeling overwhelmed, just realizing that we're going to be coming upon another year, and how we want, maybe perhaps in a situation where you're at, you want less of whatever went down this year and to be at a little bit more at ease in your life with how you are feeling about how things are going and how you are feeling about yourself. Okay. So I want to share something with you before I chit chat a little bit more. When I'm working with individuals in a therapy session, particularly uh, and we're doing grief work, I have found a resource that has been really beneficial. That's my go to, and it's called the Grief Recovery Handbook. And this is written by John James and Russell Friedman. They are the founders of the Grief Recovery Institute and authors of When Children Grieve. Um, this book, I'm going to hold it up here so you can see. Oops. This book has indeed been a great help, not only for myself in supporting and walking with someone through their grief, is that it does exactly what it says. It's a program for moving beyond death, divorce, and other losses. And this includes, it encompasses so many different areas of our lives. It includes health, career, and faith. So one of the things that's really beneficial is, and I stress this when I'm in sessions with individuals, to not ignore what's coming up, to not try to suppress or stop the feelings that are happening and that are occurring. And so in therapy, we are learning about how to sit with those things that are happening for us or around us, how to learn how to manage and cope with them better, and how to move through the grief and the loss. We cannot escape and run from suffering. We cannot escape and run from grief and loss. It is a part of our life process. It's the part that we, of course, don't enjoy, but it makes us so that much more grateful in the in-between spaces. And we'll dive much deeper into gratitude and thankfulness in next week's time together. But for now, I definitely recommend you picking up a copy of this in whatever format that's easier for you. I have no affiliation with these authors or the Institute at all. I have just found it to be a great resource to have in my library when I am working with individuals or families dealing with grief and loss. So definitely grab a copy of the Grief Recovery Handbook in whatever format you find easiest, whether that's audiobook or ebook format, or the actual paperback format. Okay. I want to speak here on a specific approach to grief that is very popular, that's known by many, but I'm never under the assumption that everyone knows it. So I'm gonna dive into it a little bit here. I'm gonna speak just briefly, and this is not my opinion. This is done via research study of findings. Okay, because I have been one that has used this approach and still incorporate it in certain aspects, and it is the 5 stages of grief that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler established. Now, I like to utilize some of that framework of their work, the 5 stages of grief and loss, because it's helpful for me to help the individual I'm working with define where they are in a moment in space. And that moment in space, wherever they are in the grief, is it's fluid. It's not static. It's not consistent. It moves around. Okay. All right. So here's, and I'm looking down, reading from a resource I found called Learning to Live in a World Without a Loved One. It says that the first step is to update our understanding of grief. If you are indeed finding yourself in the stage of dealing with some grief and loss that you've experienced, the first step is helpful to update our understanding of grief and bust some long-held and unhelpful myths. For instance, there's little evidence suggesting we always go through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, which has been made famous by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and David Kessler. Despite how well known this framework is, bereavement researchers agree that the 5 stages model perhaps may need to be retired. They argue that it's too simplistic and does more harm than good by making grieving people think these stages are common and then judge their own experience if it doesn't fit. Grief is as individual as your fingerprint. It looks different for different people. Just as every life is unique, so is every death and every person's journey to assimilate that loss into a world where their loved one is no longer present. It's also useful to know that when someone dies suddenly and the death was traumatic, those left behind are left to cope with 2 separate challenges: the pain of grief and the symptoms of trauma. Treatment that focuses on only one of these elements is unlikely to be effective. Treating Traumatic Bereavement by Lori Perlman states that while while there states that in her book, sorry, my tongue got tied there, that it is helpful to understand the effects of trauma as well as the grief involving intrusive thoughts or problems concentrating or developing an acute sense of feeling vulnerable, being startled by loud, unexpected noises, or the feeling of being on constant or high alert. While these can all be eased over time, they can be very different from the longing and emotional upheaval that can come with grief. If you or someone you care about have experienced traumatic bereavement and you're not coping 6 months to a year after the death, that's a sign that you may benefit from some professional support from a therapist. So, a while back, I did a complex grief YouTube live stream, and we talked about that. How looking at a time frame of one's grief and the level of symptoms and emotions that are occurring at that time, and if over a certain time period, if those specific symptoms are still very high, it can indeed be very beneficial for you to seek out some support from a professional. Okay, so I want to dive in these last few minutes here on some key things you can do to take care of yourself through this grieving process. Okay. Definitely, if you need to talk to someone, at this point in time, you can see if that helps to alleviate the symptoms that you're having. It's very healthy to talk about what's going on, how you're feeling, how you're processing, how you're dealing with everything that has happened in and through regarding your loss. That is a loss of the death of a person or the loss of something very meaningful to you in your life. Um, and if you find that this is starting to help to alleviate some of your symptoms, then stick with that. Definitely utilize that. At that point, seek out those in whom you are comfortable and you trust, that you feel you can confide in. Specifically, if you are looking at dealing with the loss of the death of a person, think about how you can help to create and continue on the legacy of that person. Here's some key questions to consider and think about that in building a legacy for the individual. What did your loved one teach you? How has knowing them changed you? How has your thinking or your acting changed for the better by knowing them? What impact have they had on your life? How do you behave differently now because of their life or also because of their death? And how can you commemorate that? In other words, what can you do to keep that person's legacy alive? Another idea you can do specifically in the death of a loved one or a friend, you can create a regular ritual. Another way to keep those we have lost present in our lives is by engaging in a ritual. Research shows that people who create rituals tend to feel a greater sense of control and experience less grief after loss. So let's dive into this, because sometimes when you some people hear ritual, they think of other things, but we will we will explain some things that you can do. Most people can name the public rituals commonly associated with death, such as a wake or a funeral, notices in a newspaper. Um, but there is also much comfort and relief to be had in from honoring the dead in less formal ways that are individually personal to us. This is true at any time, particularly important and powerful when, for so many of us, COVID has robbed us all of those traditional forms of mourning. Um, for example, you can play the person's favorite song or music, bake their favorite meal, um, particularly if it's someone that's died. You can have a remembrance and emblem, whether it's a earring or a bracelet or necklace or something from them. Um, and doing these things can help bring that person's presence into your life. So that ritual is there to help provide a way to bring in the presence of that person's life, even though they are no longer with you. Okay. Another good tip, okay, in providing yourself some self-care, and that is to get your body moving. Go for a walk, go for a run, go for a swim. Whatever way in which you enjoy moving your body, exercising, do it. It's very beneficial. Take a nap. Allow yourself to rest if that's what is needed for you. It will definitely help improve your mood and alertness. Okay. Smile. Did you know that the simple act of smiling, even without a reason, can make you feel happy? Oh my goodness, there's just so many muscles that are utilized when we smile. And just that very physiological movement is automatically beneficial. Okay. Read. It is shown in research, in the health benefits and reading research, that even in as little as 6 minutes of reading can start to help you to relax and to de-stress. Now, this is the reading material is very important. So you want to stay away from anything that's stressing or stressful. No reading like textbooks or anything like that. Something that you enjoy. If it's a good novel or a mystery or a self-help book or a holy text, so whatever that is for you, reading is very beneficial in helping to shift your mood if you need to. Play is very important. As adults, we don't have enough good, healthy play. And so play is really important. Find those things that you like to do and to enjoy. Enter into that childlike playfulness energy again. Go outside, get some fresh air and get some sunlight. Okay. And it's okay if you need to have a good cry. Stress-related tears help the body rid itself of nasty cortisol. That's our stress hormone. So, if you need to have a good cry, it's okay, have a good cry. Your body is releasing the toxin and the stressful stress hormone cortisol when you do so. Engage yourself in a game or an activity, whether that be puzzles or Sudoku or mahjong or a crossword puzzle. Find something that you enjoy and that you like to do to help shift your brain processes to refocus and redirect that energy. And breathe. Here's a little acronym for breathe I want to share with you. Be kind to yourself, that's the B. Respect your body, R. Engage with others, E. Allow emotions to ebb and flow. Ooh, so important. A. Take life 1 minute at a time. T. Honor your loved one. H. And E. Examine your expectations. That's a beautiful acronym for the word breathe. And you know me, as a music therapist, definitely music is hands down one of the greatest tools that I enjoy utilizing and love and use as much as I can in sessions when it's appropriate, when it's allowed and willing on the client's end, is music. So tap into a playlist that can help you shift and move in and through and ebb and flow in your moods and your emotions and your feelings. Here at Core 3, we provide music therapy services as well as training under Judith Pinkerton. I can offer you prescriptive music playlists that will help you move through and ebb and flow through your emotions and your feelings regarding and over your grief and your loss. And take stock of your support systems. That's really, really important. Um, and if you find that you don't have very much or very little support systems, then definitely reach out to a professional, reach out to a therapist, reach out to those services that can help you and help provide you with the processing and the outlet and the support you need dealing with uh, the specific grief and loss pertaining to what you are going through. And last but not least, if you need to, don't forget to look through some old photos. Um, I had an an interaction with the client, and we were speaking of someone that they had lost, a loved one that had died, and I asked if they had a photo of the person. And just that very question just open up so much more for that person to allow them to dive deep into their grief and process it. Little did I know the individual had refrained and pulled back and away from any pictures of the person that they had lost. It hurt way too much for them to go there. There was so much pain in looking at photos. And so in our time together, me asking and seeing if she would be willing to let me share that space with her and be willing to share the photo of the person, it just dug so much more deeper and a lot more work we were able to do to help her in the ebb and flow. So, with that, I hope some of these tips and suggestions have been helpful. And I somewhat agree with the statements in that the research article I read earlier that Trying to press yourself in a corner of what grief should look like is not healthy. What is healthy is being able to understand and recognize where you are, and also be able to define it and put a name on it. So the example of adding in the Kubler-Ross approach of an area of denial or an area of acceptance, adding in the name to it is helpful, but do know that there is an ebb and flow. Like so many of the other emotions and moods that we go through, we do ebb and flow through so many different things, even throughout a day. So if you are finding, as the article said, that you are going into 6 months or longer and just really having a tough time dealing with the death and loss of a loved one, or whatever your specific situation may be that you're grieving over, do seek out some help. Okay. We provide services here at Core 3 in person and remotely. So feel free, if you want to, also to reach out to us. Let's schedule a consultation. That is no cost to you, and it just helps me to see if we are a good fit, if I'm a good fit for helping to come alongside and support you, as well as to hear a little bit more about specifically what you're dealing with and going through. So I appreciate you. I thank you so much for your time today. I want to definitely suggest you always check in with yourself, honor and acknowledge yourself for what you need. Don't add any more stress on yourself than you need to. We got enough of that going on. There's no need in adding more stressors on top of the stress that we have. And I hope that you can pick up some of these tips that were suggested here and give them a try and see how they work for you. I appreciate you. I thank you for your time. Here at Core 3 Harmony and Wellness Services, we want to share content and information with you that is uplifting, inspiring, and informative. And I hope that the information shared here today did just that. Please give us a thumbs up. Please comment in our comment section. Please reach out to us. We love to be a resource and a guide as much as we can. If we don't know it, we will find someone who will, another respected and professional in our area that we can point you towards. We are very appreciative of this time that you have given us. I want to say my heart goes out to you, specifically if you're dealing with the death of a dear friend or family member at this time, and it's a tough go for you moving into the holidays without them. I hope that you do have someone around you can talk with. If not, please reach out to us. We would be honored to come alongside you and ebb and flow through the emotions that you're going through right now. With that, I am sending nothing but good vibes your way. From my hands to yours, reaching out and touching your hands virtually with nothing but good intentions, nothing but full of love and appreciation and comfort in wherever you may be on your life journey. Please reach out to us, schedule a consultation today. And I look forward to speaking with you again next week when we dive deep into a wonderful, amazing, powerhouse topic of Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again next week. May you have a very blessed week.